Kaioken Striker here. Today we're going to talk about what if Gohan actually trained under Whis. Like how Goku and Vegeta did and technically are still doing. And now even Broly, I think, is subtly in this weird training triangle. Like Whis is not, I think, per se working with Broly one-on-one, but certainly Broly has permission to watch Goku and Vegeta and hear what Whis is telling them, which to me is as much of Broly training with them as anything else. It's just that maybe he's not physically getting as involved, but we know he is sparring with them. With all this being said, let's get back to Gohan here, because we know that his potential is still massive even at this point in this series. He's always been the wild card who could have easily obviously outpaced Goku if he had really focused and really trained and did what he needed to do consistently. Gohan totally could have been a great student and maybe a great martial artist at the same time, but at that age, that was a tremendous ask. And even still, he technically had to do both. He had to save the world and still do his studies, but he had permission when obviously it absolutely required it. So when you think about it in that context, he did live that life, but could he have continued to do that? I think a motivated Gohan, yes, could have continued to have that same mindset, but obviously once he got to high school, he just kind of focused on just being a regular high school guy and doing his crime fighting under the Saiyaman gimmick. But nonetheless, what if he never really stepped back? Let's say Whis enters this picture. He becomes Gohan's trainer. He gives him the same speech that he gave Goku and Vegeta, and essentially some sort of exchange that works. I don't know what it would be from Gohan's perspective with Whis, because Whis is getting the food from Bulma, and then Goku, I think Whis has this particular fascination with Goku. Not saying he's not. He's definitely, come on. He keeps asking. He really wants Vegeta to be the god of destruction. That's what he really, really wants. But he's also fascinated with Goku's journey as a martial artist. Gohan, I think, would be something behind the sense of wanting to see what Gohan's true potential is. How far could he get? Could he even get to that level of an angel, which would seem absurd, but we know in Dragon Ball it's not. We saw Goku and Maris, the angel, sparring, so we know those limits are possible. I think that would be his motivation for wanting to obviously train Gohan, and he would teach him about that true balance, true technique and mindset that's required for that level. That patience and control would be exactly what Gohan would need, in my opinion, in order to really unlock his true potential without burning out. I think Gohan still faces an endurance issue in his fights because he just doesn't train enough. I know this myself as someone that's training for motorsports. Yeah, you have muscle memory that kicks in, but if you're not still doing cardio, you're not still doing basic endurance like training exercises to keep that going, you're going to feel it when it's really, really in grind mode, when it's 110 degrees out there and you're putting laps in my case, around the track. It gets really, really uncomfortable if you're not in good shape. And I think that's what Gohan has suffered with. He has the power, he has the potential to really showcase something that is top tier, but he lacks the overall endurance to, I think, make it matter long standing. There's a lot of fights that could have been prevented or at least helped if Gohan would have been in an actual fighting place to, help the Z fighters, or in this case, his father and Vegeta out. So I think it's a difference with Gohan training under Whis compared to Goku. Of course, that's the canon path. But Gohan would learn quite a bit from Whis that could change a lot in Dragon Ball. To some people, maybe it would change everything, because Gohan being at a Goku-like level, Vegeta-like level with his training, that significantly puts things in technically the protagonist's hands for the series, but that also would mean then we would get even more insane, crazier villains, right? So I think that would have been the cool caveat to this. People just think that, these characters get overpowered and then there's no balance. No, there's always balance. It's just a matter of whether the anime writers, directors, whomever, creators involved, whether or not they stay consistent with that power balance. And that's really up to the individual fan or viewer to decide. But in general, that's why there are antagonists, protagonists, heroes, and villains. If there's a Gohan that's more focused in this timeline, there's equally going to be other villains just as powerful to kind of offset that. Then we have completely different, maybe sagas or scenarios playing out. Imagine the training scenes that we could have saw with Gohan being trained under Whis, and that's still a possibility. It's not been written out. I just feel like it's maybe been mentioned once, and it's never really came about since then. I think if Gohan really wants spiritual awareness, he wants more calmness, he really wants to push past his limits, he will go to Whis in secret, and he'll tell Whis not to tell Goku or his dad or anything. And I could see that being something very, very exclusive, but that's the type of thing Gohan needs. Would you agree or do you disagree? I think that's ultimately what he needs to push past his limits now. It worked with the Kai. We saw it. It took a while, but it freaking worked, and it was awesome, right? I think the same thing would happen with Whis. Give me your thoughts, comment section below. Appreciate you guys for love and support on the channel, as always. And make sure to subscribe here for weekly Dragon Ball discussion content. We'll keep these going. I hope you have been enjoying them. Stay tough.